He built an empire with fire in his eyes and conquest in his bones. Nations knelt before him. Kings feared him. History remembers him as one of the greatest military minds to ever live. But in the silent corners of his heart, Napoleon Bonaparte carried a wound that no battlefield could heal. A betrayal not from enemy armies, but from the woman he loved. This is not just a story about Napoleon, it's a story about great men and why many women don't truly want them. While most men are told that success will make them more desirable, that power, ambition, and greatness will earn love, Napoleon lived the opposite truth. As he ascended in power, his wife Josephine, the woman he adored and poured his soul into, began to slip away. She betrayed him. Emotionally. Physically. And in doing so, she exposed a brutal truth most men aren't ready to hear. Most women don't want great men. They say they do. They admire the image. They worship the idea. But when faced with the storm of real masculine purpose, many recoil, not because of hatred, but because of fear. Because greatness is lonely, focused, unyielding. It doesn't pause for reassurance. It doesn't slow down for insecurity. And that kind of power, it threatens those who crave control. Napoleon, for all his brilliance, was never emotionally distant. His letters to Josephine were filled with desperate love, longing, vulnerability. He wrote to her like a man drowning in affection, while she, often cold and unfaithful, pulled further away. The Emperor of Europe was begging for the affection of a woman who couldn't match his spirit. What does that tell us? That even the greatest men who reshape the world, are not immune to the quiet rejection of women who fear their intensity. Because the truth is this, many women don't want to orbit a sun, they want a moon. Something softer, reflective, predictable. Great men shine too brightly. They demand too much. Not through neediness, but through their very nature, their vision, their drive, their mission. And most people, men and women alike, are terrified of that kind of force. Napoleon once said, "A woman laughing is a woman conquered." It sounds harsh, doesn't it? But behind that quote is a deeper meaning. He understood over time that affection, especially from women, is often a battlefield. It's a negotiation of power. And you know, the moment you lose control of that power, the respect begins to vanish. Josephine was not evil, she was human. She wanted safety, comfort, attention. Napoleon gave her his soul, but not his presence. He gave her history, but not time. And in the vacuum of that absence, her heart wandered, as many do. So what can the modern man learn? First, don't assume your ambition will be rewarded with loyalty. Greatness is a solo path. Yes, a woman can walk beside you, but never forget, your mission must come first. When you compromise your drive for affection, you lose both. Second, understand that vulnerability is not always a virtue. Napoleon opened his heart completely, but he opened it to someone who couldn't carry the weight. Be careful who you bleed for. Your emotional depth is sacred. It should be earned. Third, accept that loneliness is a companion to greatness. Not every woman will understand your silence, your focus, your obsession, but that doesn't mean you should shrink. It means you must become comfortable being alone. Powerful men are rarely celebrated in the moment. They are envied, feared, even discarded, until history writes their story in gold. Napoleon was not perfect. He was obsessive, controlling, sometimes cruel, but he was real. And his heartbreak is not weakness. It is a mirror. A reflection of every man who has ever chosen a woman before choosing himself. We're taught that love is the reward, that once we become great, the right woman will follow. But sometimes love is the test. Sometimes her departure is what makes you ruthless enough to become what you were meant to be. Josephine left a scar. But from that scar, Napoleon built a legend. The man who once begged for her letters became the man who changed the face of Europe. Alone, focused, disciplined. And maybe that's the point. Maybe greatness requires a kind of detachment, a willingness to be misunderstood, to be unloved, at least for a time. Because not everyone can walk beside a man on fire. So if you feel betrayed, if you feel like your ambition has made you lonely, if you wonder why they always choose the softer man, remember this. You are not broken. You are becoming. And when you finally rise, not to impress her, but to fulfill your own destiny, you will look back on her betrayal not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because without it, you might have stayed soft, unsharpened, distracted. But now you're a weapon. Now you're sovereign. This is the sovereign doctrine. where heartbreak becomes horsepower, and greatness is forged in solitude,